Jayson Tatum lets us know exactly what happened in Game 4. Joe Mazzulla comes closest that he ever will to chastising his players in public. And Al Horford said it's time for adjustments. So, adjustments right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the Seeds game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all Seeds Nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising business, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, plus these bonus podcasts whenever things happen on the weekend, like losing Game 4 of the NBA Finals. It's okay, it was a 3-0 lead. Don't sweat it. But I got you covered, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, and whenever, I suppose, because when you subscribe, it gets dropped to your device. Watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about the Boston Celtics, about what I'm saying, and all that stuff. Shout out, by the way, to everybody that I saw in Dallas. I don't remember anybody's name because my brain just, for some reason, cannot function that way. It drives me nuts. I ask people your names, I repeat it, and it goes away, and I'm so sorry. But so many people said hi, and I'm so grateful and thankful. So I really am so apologetic that I can't shout you out by name here. I got to keep a book. I got to write down people's names. But everybody was so nice, and I was so thrilled to see so many Celtics fans in Dallas. So thank you, everybody, for saying hi. Come up to me in the garden over there in Section 19. It's going to be a raucous time, so come say hi. I'm John Karalis. If you don't know me, which is fine. You probably shouldn't if you're new to the show, especially. Thank you. But that's who I am. And I'm just looking forward to Game 5. I'm a beat writer now covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, by the way. Today, you'll hear from Jayson Tatum in a second, talking about pressing in Game 4. You'll hear from Joe Mazzulla, which I thought was just funny. I just love Joe. He's so nuts. Later on, you'll hear my adjustments for Game 5, the least of which, if Kristaps Porzingis comes back, there's your adjustment. Boom. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Let me start with this. I can't believe how many people are really just losing their minds over a Game 4 loss. Okay, it was a 40-point loss, which was ugly. I thought the Celtics came out, they were uncharacteristic. They made a ton of mistakes that you're just like, why aren't you seeing this read? Why aren't you seeing this thing that you've seen? Why aren't you doing these things that, as I've said all series long, if I can see it, you should definitely be able to see it. Because I'm not smart like you are smart, NBA players. I keep joking that I am a high school science teacher and you all are astrophysicists. We're in the same science realm. It takes me a lot longer to get to where you guys are. So if you're not seeing it, that's a problem. So what was the problem? Well, I asked Jayson Tatum to explain it for me.
Jayson, along those lines, when you go up 3-0, everything's talked about inevitability. You're crowned without being crowned yet. Did any of that seep into the Game 4 performance where you just said you wanted to win so bad because you know this is the moment? Did that seep into it? Did that change how you guys saw the game and the decisions you guys were making on the floor?
Not that we came out and expected that we were just going to roll over them and win. I firmly believe we had the right intentions. We wanted to win. We wanted to play the right way. That moment, we wanted that moment. But I think we maybe put too much pressure on ourselves of that moment to be perfect or think it was going to go how we wanted it to go. And Joe did a great job today of like reminding us that it's okay to smile during war. It's okay to have fun during high pressure moments. That's what makes our team unique and special. And we would love to win tomorrow more than anything. But if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. We have more opportunities. So just like setting that table of like, don't surrender to that idea that we have to win tomorrow. We would love to, absolutely. But Game 5 is the biggest game of the season because it's the next game on the schedule. So going with that mindset and just have fun. And that's really what we talked about today, to get back to having fun and being the team and how special we are and the team that got us here.
Thank you, Jayson.
It's okay to smile during a war. Put that one on your Twitter bio. Look, let's start with the pressing part, the beginning part. I 100% believe this. I do believe that that's what I was seeing. Contrary to popular belief, or I don't even know if it's popular belief, but it is a belief that I've seen out there, maybe from a loud minority. But I mean, there are people who are freaking out, even though these losses have happened before. And just to hammer that point home, in the Stanley Cup Finals with the Florida Panthers up 3-0, they got smoked 8-1 in the Game 4 there in Edmonton. And it just goes to show that sometimes when you're up 3-0 on the road and the other team is super, super desperate, you don't have that gear to be like, oh, God, we got to be desperate too. I think the Celtics came out with this, yes, now's the time. Now, we got to do this now. We have to do this now. And that's why, like, we saw things like Tatum get too deep and turn the ball over. Like, oh, wow, I've seen Tatum get too deep and turn the ball over before. We've seen things like Jaylen Brown getting in too deep. We've seen things like missing reads and trying to do things on their own and missing shots and playing just a tick too fast and making mistakes. This wasn't a team that was, I think, lazy or disinterested or being like, yeah, we're just going to do this at home. I think somewhere in the second quarter, third quarter, they kind of got into that, look, we don't got it, and we're just going to do this at home, and it's okay. But it wasn't until things kind of spiraled out of control. And it's very easy to have things spiral out of control. So I don't give a damn about what the final score was. It's more about the early parts where they made just some uncharacteristic mistakes. So I think there are easy answers, which I'll talk about in the third segment. I think there are counters, plays that you can run to beat what Dallas is doing, and obvious things that I think the Celtics would normally see. So that gives me a lot of optimism. And then the second part of that is something that I bet people will latch onto, but will latch onto the wrong way. And it's the notion of, hey, if you don't do it in Game 5, don't worry about it. You still have other opportunities, Game 6 and a Game 7 potentially. And I know a lot of people are going to sit there and be like, whoa, no, that's not, no, you got to do this in Game 5, because if you don't do this in Game 5 and you go to Game 6, that's in Dallas, and they'll probably win in Dallas. Then you come back to a Game 7, and that's Game 7, and they've got Luka, and he's so special, and we don't have anybody that special, and they're going to lose. Oh my God, no, that's the wrong message. I know that there's like a couple of you out there who are like, yeah, exactly, John. That's exactly it. No, that's actually wrong. It's not wrong necessarily in the sense that I do believe that you probably want to do this in 5 because you kind of don't want to go to Game 6 at home and you don't want to face Luka in a Game 7. Like, I understand that. But it's not the wrong message to send the team. I'll explain why in just a second. Plus, I'll play Joe Mazzulla's comments, which I thought were very apt, very telling, and kind of funny the way he said it. That's all coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. I grew up in a small business, so I know how tough it is to do everything. I used to be a hiring manager, so I know how tough it is to hire people. It's incredibly difficult. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help with both because they help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. That's important. Those last two things are important. LinkedIn's not just another job board. They have this massive network of more than 1 billion professionals. So that's a huge pool of people to choose from. They give you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else because LinkedIn has a feature where people who are open to a new job but not looking for a new job they just turn that feature on. When you post your job, they can get notified. So you have access to a group of people that aren't even searching job boards. That is a game changer for a small business because if you have the right person who's got a job but is open and you find that person, then LinkedIn makes it really, really worth it. 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. They know that you've got a lot of hats that you're wearing. They can save your time, save your resources. 2.5 million small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. You should be one of them. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube, on the Amazon Fire TV channels app. This show shows up there plenty as now during the finals. All the big shows, all the big stories are covered there. So go check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Forget the fake arguing stuff. Real talk, real conversation, real arguments if there are arguments. It all is genuine stuff. So go check it out. Locked On Sports today. Why was that message that Jayson Tatum said right before the break the right message for the Celtics? Because the last thing, I mean, game 4, watching it, if you watch it from the lens of they were tight, they were pressing, they felt the pressure of having to finish this job off, that's your answer. That's your answer right there. What they did in game 4 is what happens when you say, no, you got to win now. Win now. There's no tomorrow. I understand what you're saying. I understand that notion. Again, winning game 5 at home is important. You don't want to go on the road for a game 6 because even though statistically, when that happens, the road team wins overwhelmingly. You just don't want that feeling of Luka, Kyrie, their role players at home in Dallas. So, but the Celtics have shown that when they play tight, that's when they make mistakes. Playing loose, understanding like, hey, we're just going to play free. We are going to have fun. We're going to smile. We're going to goof around. Kristaps Porzingis is going to, joke around with people, like mimicking people's jump shots. That's a fun video that I tweeted out there and has picked up some steam apparently. So, but that kind of stuff is good. It's fun. Like playing loose, playing relaxed. Like I don't use my playing days a lot to reference the NBA because my playing days were nothing near the NBA. But basketball is basketball. And when you play basketball tight, you suck. And when you play basketball loose and free, you are at your best. Loose and free was always, I know I'm having a good game when right before the tip, I'm like kind of laughing and smiling. If I can smile and nod during warm-ups, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling this. This is good. I feel good. If I'm super serious, I just remember this about myself. If I was ever super serious, okay, that might not be a good game for me. Playing loose, playing free. Shoulders aren't tight. They're not up in your ears. You're down, loose. Your jump shots flow. Everything it's so nice. So Mazzulla keeping it light, that's reading the room. That's understanding okay, these players, When they play tight, they turn the ball over. They miss reads. They try to do too much. Tatum and Brown, especially, trying to do too much, that's bad. So don't try to do too much. Just trust your teammates. It's cool. Don't worry about it. We're good. That's the right message. I think that's absolutely the right message. Here's another message that Joe Mazzulla was sending. Now, I eliminated a question in the middle, so it sounds worse. So I'm telling you ahead of time, these are not consecutive questions for Mazzulla. There was a question in the middle that I cut out. It was about Kristaps Porzingis, and the answer was he's trying to come back. He's doing everything he can to come back. But these were the first and third questions in Joe Mazzulla's media availability.
You have an opportunity to be part of a very special fraternity of coaches here in Boston that have won titles. Talking about legends like Red Auerbach and Bill Russell and Tommy Heinz and Casey Jones. What would it mean for you personally? I know you always talk about, it's all about the players. But you're a young coach. What would it mean for you personally, Coach, to be a part of that?
That'll never happen if you don't run back on defense, rebound, execute, and get to your spacing. It's the most important thing.
Simone here.
Simone Sandro, Gazzetta dello Sport. You talked in the past about your different side of your upbringing. Can you talk about your Italian side and how that shaped the person and the coach that you became?
Yeah, I mean, you're just made by all the experiences and the things that you have. So regardless of what I am, where I'm made from, first and foremost, my identity in Christ is the most important thing before any of all that. And then after that, it's about winning for the Boston Celtics and the process of winning, getting back on defense, playing hard, transition, rebounding, spacing, execution. Those things are the most important.
I've heard that like a dozen times. I laugh every time because those two questions are good questions. They're thoughtful, and maybe the timing of those is but the timing is what it is. Like this is an off day, and you use the off days to kind of get your quotes about these other things, right? But you get to join a special fraternity. It doesn't happen if you don't run back on defense, rebound, execute, and get to your spacing. Hey, you're Italian too. What about that? Manages to get a little answer about his faith in there, but doesn't happen if doesn't matter if you don't get back on defense, play hard, transition, rebounding, spacing, execution. This is the closest that Joe gets to criticizing his team in public because he makes it a point not to do that. But running back on defense, that's not the coaches. Rebounding, that's not the coaches. Executing, getting to your spacing, that's not the coaches. That's the players. And that's the message after game 4. You don't run back on defense. You don't rebound. You don't execute. You don't get to your spacing. Guess what happened in game 4 or what didn't happen in game 4? They didn't run back on defense. They didn't rebound. They didn't execute, and their spacing sucked. That's the most important thing. So the playing hard, the defense, the rebounding, that's just, he's calling out his team after having called out his team privately. But the messaging is pretty clear. The messaging is obviously clear. You got to get back on defense. I wrote a piece on Boston Sports Journal that, depending on when you listen to this podcast, it's publishing at 7 a.m. I highlighted a lot of this stuff, but you can go back and see Jaylen Brown early in the game, thinks he gets fouled, hangs back to complain about the ref, and takes like 6 full seconds to get back into the play after the Mavs already hit a three-pointer. So get back on defense. Rebound. Be aware of your surroundings. Find out who you've got and rebound the ball. Spacing. Horrible. Some of it personnel driven, which I'll get to next. But some of it was just, why are you cutting Derek White? Look, I'll just say this. If Derek White is making mindless mistakes, then you're going to have a bad night. Because Derek White is one of the smartest basketball players in the NBA. And if he's having brain farts all over the place, which he did, then yeah, there's something up with that game. Because Derek never has those games. Those are rare. That's like NFT, like which NFTs suck, and so do games where Derek White has a mindless kind of mistake-filled game. So just get focused, right? Like that type of stuff. Why are you cutting into space where Jayson is going to drive? Or why are there no passing outlets? Why didn't, Al Horford lift, and why didn't Derek White go to the corner? I'm thinking of specific plays in my head and saying this, but there are little things where smart players, the smartest players, were like a tick late or didn't see it or just didn't do it, or maybe they were just too caught up in, oh, Jayson's cooking. Let me see. Should I go in for a rebound or should I go cut for a pass? I don't know which to do. And you kind of like paralyzed by the indecision. Like what is it? So Mazzulla's message is very simple. Hey, everybody, here's my message. Run back on defense, rebound, execute, get to your spacing. That's the closest he's ever going to get to calling people out. Why don't we talk about these adjustments? Why don't we do that in just a second? Because I think they're going to be kind of easy. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's the number one fantasy sports app. There are 5 million users, more than 5 million users on PrizePicks. You can be one of them, but you're not playing against the users. You're playing against the projections. You and a player's projections, like Jayson Tatum, more or less than 10 rebounds. You do that with 2 to 6 player stats, and depending on how many you get right, you can make your money. You can make up to 10 times your money. You can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You got one more opportunity with the NBA Finals. Let's just be optimistic and say one. But you can go into the WNBA if you want to still go with basketball, baseball. Who knows how many hockey games left. But go pick your favorite sports, and you can have some fun on PrizePicks. So, and in June, we're in June. You got a couple more weeks. There are esports every Wednesday and Saturday. If your lineup doesn't win, you'll get your entry fee back. So go choose from Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, League of Legends, and more. If you're into the esports, maybe some of you are. So go download the PrizePicks app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get a first deposit match up to $100. So go take advantage of it. Put $100 in. You get $100 first deposit match, and go have fun picking more or less. That's a very simple way. It's not easy. Well, it is easy. It's easy to make the picks. You'll earn your money, though. Turn $10 into $1,000. With the promo code LOCKEDONNBA, you get a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. Hey, I'll be on there on Tuesday. I think celebrating a Boston Celtics championship, but we'll see. Either that or I'm traveling back to Dallas to do it. Either way, I'll be on Locked On NBA this week with Jake Madison for the Wednesday show. So make sure you check that out. Locked On NBA, wherever you get your podcast, rotating hosts all week long. We have fun there on that show. So you should check it out. The adjustments, I think, are simple. The first, right away, if Kristaps Porzingis comes back, there's your adjustment. Because he blows up everything that the Dallas Mavericks are trying to do. And it kind of sucks. Like, this is very clear in games 1 and 2 that Porzingis was a game changer. That's why 1 and 2 were that easy. Game 3, they started to figure some stuff out. The Celtics adjusted well to what Dallas was doing, kind of blew up some of their adjustments. Game 4, maybe they thought it was going to be a little bit easier. Either way, Al Horford after the game said, we went 3 games without having to make an adjustment. Game 4, we have to. So if you don't have Kristaps Porzingis, what's the adjustment? Number 1, aside from rebounding, getting back on defense, playing hard, executing, and getting to your spacing, I don't think the spacing is helped by Xavier Tillman. Now, Tillman got his 1 game in. He had that 1 game where he was Leon Poe, where he was PJ Washington. And that's going to be a great story. We will forget. History will forget that Tillman was not as effective in game 4 because no one was effective in game 4. Everybody can chalk that up, so it's not a big deal. And Tillman probably should go back to the bench in game 5, at least to start. Maybe you go to him later as a wrinkle, but I want to see shooting all over the floor. Number 1, shooting all over the floor so the spacing is there. Because I saw a few clips with Tillman and they were just helping way off him. And he, in a couple of those instances, is so unwilling to shoot for good reason that they're just playing off of him. And this is, it's no surprise that Luka's defense looks better on a game where Lively and Gafford are kind of lurking in the background, that there are a number of plays where Tatum and Brown halfway get to the corner that they want to turn on Luka, but there's a big back there and they back it out. And so it looks like, whoa, Luka staying in front of these guys. And he is, but he's got backup. So you got to get that backup the hell out of there. You got to find a way to get Gafford and Lively out of that paint. That makes the Luka blow-bys much more likely because there's no support. So when Tatum and Brown, they're there, they put their heads down and they're ready to turn that corner and they just see Mavs. They see a guy back there, they see a guy helping off of here, and they are like, nope, I can't get to where I need to get to. I'm going to get myself into trouble. So they have to back it out. So a 5 out, I've been saying this from the beginning here. Once Porzingis went down, you cannot go to Tillman. Okay, I was wrong in game 3. He stepped up. But I think that was an aberration. So they dipped back into the Tillman well. Didn't work. No problem. Sub in Sam Hauser. Tatum at the 5. Now, and I shared this on Twitter, at John_Karalis. I put it on Boston Sports Journal if you're a subscriber. There's a play where they run where I can't show it to you here on YouTube. But basically, when the other team's defense is deep into the paint like they are in Dallas, you start a shooter down in the corner and you start a screener up top, and that screener comes down and screens either the big that's way too deep, or he screens his own man so they can reverse the ball and get it to the shooter who comes up from the corner. And in the instances that I showed, it was Hauser, but it can be anybody. It could be White. It can be anybody. It could be any shooter. When Dallas sucks in so deep, very simply set a screen on the guy that can get back out to the corner and skip pass it to that guy. And there's no way that Daniel Gafford is going to get from the opposite block to the corner in time to challenge that. And if by some miracle he does, up fake, drive, the guy that was just getting screened is going to dive down there and you dump it back to the guy who was doing the screening and he gets an open shot. It's very easy stuff. This is a play that they run for Hauser all the time. This is a play that they've run a bunch. I did a story on it on Boston Sports Journal back after Hauser almost set the 3-point record for Boston. So, and that was the Wizards game way back when. There are ways for them to adjust. So number 1, Porzingis. Number 2, don't play Tillman. Don't play Tillman. Got to have shooting on the floor. And then from there, it's just recognizing the defense when they are playing off. Screen your own guy and get it get the other guy an open shot. Like there are ways to do that. It's not difficult. It's super easy. So if you have a shooter and you can pull the big out, do it. If the big is still down there, then run multiple picks. If they pre-switch, run that other guy, do a stagger screen, do something to involve that big in the play. I'm telling you, the more decision-making you make Dallas have to go through, they're going to make mistakes. It's all about playing at the right pace. And Joe's right. It's not just about defense, rebounding. It's spacing and executing. I think the Celtics are absolutely fine. I think they're fine. Now, Porzingis, he was out there goofing around. He was ready to talk to people at media on Sunday, and they didn't let him. So, okay, fine. I don't know if he's going to play. I think he's in such good spirits. I think there's he's going to make it back at some point during the series. I think it's game 5. I really do think it's game 5. Give him that pain injection, sub him in. Think about if it's a tight game, subbing Porzingis in halfway through the first quarter, 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. Think about the absolute pop from the crowd. That crowd's going to be nuts. Subbing Porzingis in 4 or 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, closing the quarter strong off of that. I'm telling you, that's going to be a huge thing. Dallas is I don't know if they have more than the counter that they've shown already. Like, that was a great decision. The Celtics kind of blew that up in the third quarter of game 3. They let go of the rope in the fourth quarter, and Dallas had all the momentum in game 4. Get back to that game 3, third quarter. If Porzingis isn't there, get back to just calmly executing. I think shots are going to fall. I think game 5 is it. I wasn't so sure about game 4. I think game 5 is it. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. If there is a championship won, I will try to do a quick live stream from the Garden right afterwards as the championship ceremony is going on. I'll give you something. I'll do something there. And then a podcast later in the night. And then hopefully a live stream from a duck boat. I don't know. You're going to find out only if you're subscribed to do that wherever you get your podcasts, however you listen. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. And I would love it if you shared the podcast. Spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.